Hello and welcome to CadenCenter. It's time for another This Week in Sports. Today I'll be talking about the upcoming play-in and playoff series. It's been a long season full of drama, but we're finally here. It's time for every game to matter more than the previous one did. It should be exciting. Let's get right into it for my predictions, starting with the Western Conference play-in games. First game on tap, we have the Lakers and the Wolves playing for the 7th seed. For the Wolves, they're coming into this matchup in complete disarray. We saw Rudy Gobert punch Kyle Anderson in the chest during the last game of the season. He will be suspended and out for this game. Jalen McDaniels will also be out for the Timberwolves with an injury. And Naz Reid, who would get more minutes with Rudy Gobert being out usually, will also be out. So the Wolves' depth is really cut in half, and the Lakers have to be happy about this. Obviously, with Gobert out, Anthony Davis has more room in the paint to work with. He doesn't have to deal with the 7-1 shot blocker that is Gobert. And LeBron James also has some driving lanes, so he'll have to use a little less of those year 20 hops to be able to score effectively. So just with all those things combined, I think the Lakers will take this one easily. They started so bad, 2-10, and now they're going to be here as a 7 seed and a very scary one at that. As we move on to the 9 versus 10 game for the right to play, the aforementioned Timberwolves, it is the Pelicans and Thunder. I remember at the start of the season when I did a video about predicting each team's record in the seeding, I had the Thunder winning about 25 games. I did not expect them, especially without Chet Holmgren, to grow up and develop this quickly, but they've got some extra contributors throughout the season, along with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's played all first-team NBA level this year. But ultimately, I think against a Pelicans team with a little bit more experience in these play-in and playoff games, I think the Pelicans will have the upper hand. I think Brandon Ingram, his ability to score at all three levels really helps in these winner-go-home, one-play-in games. So I think behind Brandon Ingram, the Pelicans will be able to overtake the Thunder, and the Thunder will miss the playoffs once again, but they will know they've taken a huge step, and the guy, and Chet Holmgren, their guy, will be back next season, and I'm sure they'll improve on this 10-seed mark. As for that game for the 8th seed for the Pelicans and Wolves, I see the Pelicans taking it. Again, Brandon Ingram, perfect guy for these types of situations. And also I think CJ McCollum has some favorable matchups given the Wolves' point guard depth is not that good. Mike Conley's not really who he used to be. So I think we'll see some big games from him. And I think with all the Wolves just locker room issues that are becoming very evident now at the worst time, I think they'll just be ready for the season to end, move on, and try to figure out the steps from here, because they traded a lot for Rudy Gobert. You can't really go and trade him again. We saw he didn't work out playing along with cats sometimes, playing along with ants sometimes. So it'll be interesting to see what they do, but they will be headed to an early offseason. Moving on to the Eastern Conference play-in, we have the Heat and the Hawks. We know the Heat are a different animal come playoff time. Jimmy Butler because it becomes a top 10 player in the NBA. And as for the Hawks, they've been pretty middle of the pack all season. They finished 41-41. I think I saw a stat earlier today that said they were 500 at the most different points in NBA history. Like they were just the definition team, win, lose. And that's not a sign of a team that I think will beat an experienced squad like the Heat. And I see the Heat winning and becoming the 7th seed and going to the playoffs once again. As for the 9-10 matchup, it's the Raptors and Bulls. The Bulls had the play-in legend himself, Patrick Beverley. But this Raptors team, I've been a big fan. I'm always a big fan of the Raptors, the way they play the game with all their length. They play their starters a lot, which really helps in games like this. Once again, one game, win or go home. So I think they will beat the Bulls. The Bulls have a lot to address. You know, we saw last season they started off so well, and ever since then, since the All-Star break of that season, it's been a steep decline. They're lucky to be even in the playoff game with the way they've been playing throughout the season. So I do see the Raptors taking it. And the Raptors, that means the Raptors, of course, will then play the Hawks for the 8th seed. And again, I think the Hawks are just not a team I can trust to even win a game. I think the Raptors are more solid overall. I think their length will really bother the Hawks, and the Raptors will get the 8th seed and create what will really be not a fun matchup for the 1 seed Bucks. But I'll get into that later. Now, for the first round in the Western Conference, we have the 1-seeded Nuggets going up against the 8-seeded Pels. I see the Nuggets winning in 5. I don't think it'll really be close. I think the Pelicans have so much offensive talent that they'll seal a game. But Nikola Jokic and company are not going out this early. And then we have a very interesting 4-5 matchup in the Suns versus the Clippers. KD versus Kawhi. It would have been Devin Booker versus Paul George, but Paul George rumored to probably miss games 1, 2, and 3, maybe even longer. So with that in mind, I think if Paul George was playing, I would have this series going to 7, but I only have it going to 6 and the Suns winning. I think, yes, Kawhi will maybe be able to match up with KD's numbers offensively, but the Clippers won't have a second answer for Devin Booker, and that's what will allow Phoenix to move on to the second round. And then in the 3-6 matchup, we have the Battle of the Bay up in NorCal. We got the Golden State Warriors versus Sacramento Kings. And I had a tough time with this one. I know a lot of people are saying Warriors, Warriors, Warriors. I get that. They're way more experienced. Kings are inexperienced. Some people don't believe in them that much. But the Warriors simply cannot win games on the road. Their defense on the road is abysmal. Their depth just falls apart. It's really their starting 5 they're relying on. So I almost took the Kings here. But then I remember that the Warriors have Stephen Curry, and I don't think Stephen Curry is going to let the Warriors lose in round 1. I think they'll take it in game 7. They'll finally get over their road jitters, struggles, whatever you want to call it. They'll win in game 7. I think this will be a great series, though. It's good for the league that Sacramento is back in the playoffs. That building will be jumping. The roof's going to come off multiple times throughout each game. But ultimately, the Warriors will continue their trek on maybe another championship run. And lastly, we have the 2-7 matchup. The Grizzlies and the Lakers, kind of deja vu for the Lakers. You're a 7 seed, but going into this matchup, if the matchup does happen, of course, the Lakers still need to win their playoff game. I think the Lakers will be favored. With Steven Adams being out, the Grizzlies' depth at the big man spot, obviously, with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, you like to have bigs, will be slightly trimmed down to where Xavier Tillman will most likely be the secondary guy at center, and I think that is when AD and LeBron will be able to eat. I think they'll be able to get Jaren Jackson Jr. in foul trouble. We know Austin Reeves has become very good at drawing fouls. We know LeBron can get him. We know AD can get him. So I think they'll be able to do that across multiple games. And ultimately, the Grizzlies also just aren't a team that I trust in the playoffs because they're a poor three-point shooting team and they don't make their free throws. I have the Lakers in 6. Now for the second round, we have the Suns versus Nuggets. I think the Nuggets' depth will really keep them in this series here, but ultimately, I don't see them having an answer for Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, just like the Clippers. I see the Suns taking 7. I think it'll be a great series. I know Nikola Jokic will really want this one. Him losing again after getting the back-to-back MVP and probably coming top 3 in MVP voting this year will really hurt him. But ultimately, I think the Suns just have too much talent. They're too good. Barring injuries, the Nuggets will not stop them. And we get one, and then we get a matchup that'll probably break Twitter. We have the Lakers and the Warriors, LeBron versus Steph Curry. This will probably be the highest viewed second round series in a while if it does happen. And I have the Lakers winning in 6. You can call me a little biased because I'm a Laker fan. But again, I still don't trust the Warriors on the road against a team like the Lakers especially, which are a little different than the Kings. I think the Lakers are a little stronger with more experience. So I think the Warriors' road woes will hurt them, even though I think they'll lose the home court advantage that they would have by the second game, and the Lakers will just steamroll from there. I know LeBron wants to beat Steph Curry, and I know Anthony Davis wants to show that he can play big against a team with a reputation like the Warriors. Lakers in 6. They'll be moving on to the Western Conference Final, and we'll get, once again, LeBron James versus Kevin Durant. And this one is where I think the Lakers' run does come to an end. I can't get myself to pick them here. The Suns are just so good offensively, and the Lakers can be so shaky. I don't think they'll be able to keep up. The Suns' depth, yes, it is yikes, but it is low. But at the end of the day, again, too much talent. I don't really think Jared Vanderbilt will be able to guard Kevin Durant and Devin Booker twice at once. So one of them will be going for 30 or 40 every game of the series. So I do see the Suns taking in 6. And Kevin Durant's super team, once again, will find themselves in the finals. And to find out who they will play, we'll go through my Eastern Conference predictions now. The 1 versus 8 matchup, the Bucks versus the Raptors. Bucks in 5, Raptors will take one because they're no sleep. Nick Nurse is such a good defensive coach. He's able to game plan so well. But ultimately, the Raptors do not have the talent nor the depth to compete with the Bucks. In the 4-5 matchup, I'm seeing a lot of people say this Cavs-Knicks series will go to 6 or 7. But ultimately, I think Julius Randle will shoot the Knicks out of this series. Unless RJ Barrett really steps up, I think the Knicks have no chance. I have the Cavaliers in 5. As for the 3-6 matchup, 76ers and Nets, the Nets are not going to be a fun team for the Sixers in round 1 because the Nets have so many guys that they can throw at James Harden to really break him down. And even though I do see the Sixers winning in 5, I think it will be a grueling 5 games. So they can throw Mikal Bridges, Cameron Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith, you name it. They can throw him at him and really wear him down. So 76ers in 5, but this will really hurt the 76ers and their hopes of winning a title due to the amount of strain that they'll have to go through, because this Nets team is gritty, tough, and they have nothing to lose. And the last matchup, the 2 versus 7, the Celtics and the Heat. I have the Heat making the Celtics work. It goes to 7 games. The Celtics ultimately pulled through. But again, this is really setting the Bucks up nicely, because the Celtics have to play the Heat, who match up really well with them. They'll wear them down. I already mentioned what the Nets will do with the Sixers. So I think this all really favors the Bucks because of the tough matchup the other seeds have, and it's just showing that the 1 seed really is still impactful, not just for home court advantage, but also for who you play before you get to the later rounds of the conference finals and the NBA finals. For the second round, I have the Bucks over the Cavs in 5. Their Cavaliers are not stopping Giannis. They're not ready for that. Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell will ultimately be too small, really, in that group with that big Bucks group. The Bucks have guys that can guard every position. The Cavs in a couple of years may be able to beat the Bucks, but this year, no. And we'll get Celtics versus 76ers, 2 of the most passionate, sometimes way too toxic fan bases. I see the Celtics being able to win in 6 just because I don't believe in James Harden in the playoffs still. I think Joel Embiid will struggle a little bit with Robert Williams on him, and that'll be enough for the Celtics to win in 6. And of course, for the Eastern Conference Finals, Bucks versus Celtics. I predicted this at the start of the year. I said Bucks in 7 then. I'm saying Bucks in 7 now. The Bucks have not lost as a healthy team in the past few years. I know Chris Middleton is battling the injury in and out, but we have to realize they're almost used to him being injured at this point. His impact is not the same as it was 2-3 years ago, thanks to Drew Holiday stepping off offensively and the overall depth that they have. So yeah, Bucks in 7, great series. But ultimately, the Celtics will not be able to go back and try to get revenge for their finals loss last year. And that, of course, sets up the NBA Finals, the rematch between the Bucks and the Suns, which I also predicted last year, and I'm predicting again. So hopefully I can get it right this time. I do have the Bucks winning in 6. I know I mentioned earlier against their previous opponents that the Suns could get away with their lack of depth, but against the Bucks, I don't think they can. I think Bobby Portis will be a big X factor in this series, working against the bench unit. I think Brook Lopez's ability to defend the room will be really important. It'll force Devin Booker and KD to take jumper after jumper. Drew Holiday will be running around, giving Devin Booker the business. And I think the Bucks will be able to take it in 6. And the Finals MVP, of course, will be Giannis Antetokounmpo. And the Bucks will claim their 2nd title in the Giannis era, their 3rd overall, and really start what I think will become a dynasty, because this team, when they're healthy, is as good as any team I've seen in a while, other than the super teams of the Warriors and the Heatles. They're definitely in that category. So those are my predictions for the NBA playoffs. Like I said, the play-in games start tomorrow. They last through the week, and then the weekend starts off with round 1, and we'll get into the drama. We'll see what happens. Obviously, a lot can change with these predictions due to injuries and stuff like that. But this year, the West especially, really wide open. I think there will be a lot of upsets, and it'll be one of the better playoff journeys the NBA will have had in recent history. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Enjoy the games, and I'll see you guys next time.